Hello, everyone. Today we are in chapter 6 of the book of Acts, and the honeymoon is over. It seems as though evil is doing everything it can to dismantle this fledgling Christian community. It really started in the last chapter when the high council beat all of the apostles and ordered them to stop talking about Jesus. But now Satan is using one of his favorite tricks, and that is to cause division from within the community. We find out about this at the very beginning of this chapter at verse 1. But as the believers rapidly multiplied, there were rumblings of discontent. The Greek-speaking believers complained about the Hebrew-speaking believers, saying that their widows were being discriminated against in the daily distribution of food. So, to be clear about what's going on here, a big part of the culture in the first century was the care of widows and orphans. Widows and orphans did not have any way of securing jobs and taking care of themselves, so it was really incumbent on the community to help and support them. This was a big part of the Jewish tradition, and in fact, the temple was responsible for daily distributing food to Jewish women who were widows. The Christians have begun to do that as well because inevitably the Jews are beginning to reject anyone that they recognize are Christian. So they're being overwhelmed by the fact that their numbers are growing rapidly. And when you have an organization that's growing rapidly, things are going to start going wrong. And as they do, people start trying to find an explanation as to why they don't feel like they're getting a fair shake. And in this case, it goes down the lines of discrimination. Now, something that's interesting about this is there are Greek-speaking Jews and there are Hebrew-speaking Jews. But they're all Jews. I mean, they're followers of Jesus Christ now, but we're not talking about a real racial difference. It's mostly about a regional difference. Those Jews who were born in Jerusalem were born and raised speaking Hebrew. Those who were a part of the Babylonian exile and dispersed across the region were born in Greek-speaking communities, and so their primary language is Greek. They can all speak Hebrew as well, and probably Greek, so they can communicate just fine. But there's this expectation that that must be the cause. And that cause, of course, as I said, is Satan's favorite strategy for trying to break apart a community, is to get them to perceive some form of discrimination, to break them apart and ruin their unity. The apostles figure this out really fast and say, listen, we could fix this ourselves, that is, but that would then take us away from our job of preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. We need to come up with a better idea. And here's what they propose. And so, brothers, select 7 men who are well respected and are full of the Spirit and wisdom. We will give them this responsibility. Then we apostles can spend our time in prayer and teaching the word. These 7 men would be the first deacons of the church. Deacons is a term used in many congregations for those who are called out for ministries of word and service. And so these 7 men in this case were going to be called out to be the administrators, to do the kind of daily logistical operations that call for people of faith, but allow them to get into the details of operations while the apostles can spend their time looking forward and preaching the good news and casting that vision that invite other people in. Among these 7, by the way, will be a man named Stephen. And the rest of this chapter actually is going to be about Stephen. We're not going to talk about him today, but I'm going to ask you to read the last half of this chapter that introduces Stephen to us, because he is going to be an important figure in his story in the next chapter. But it goes on to say that everybody liked this idea, and at verse 6, listen to this. These 7 were presented to the apostles, who prayed for them as they laid their hands on them. So God's message continued to spread. The number of believers greatly increased in Jerusalem, and many of the Jewish priests were converted too. That last line, many of the Jewish priests were converted too, suggests that these are the priests who work in the temple, who are part of the Jewish distribution of food. And perhaps they see, as the Christians are coming together, uniting and organizing in healthy ways, that, golly, there is something about Jesus that is bringing the right spirit into what they're doing. And so now you have the Jewish priests who have committed themselves to serving God in the Jewish temple, surrendering themselves over to serve Jesus Christ. And that's a powerful thing. So the message for us is this: there are things that seek to divide our communities from within. We need to resist those divisions. That's not to say that there's not something that needs to be fixed. It absolutely did need to be fixed, and they had to find a way to organize and get rid of the systemic problem that existed. But the spirit of unity needed to prevail. And so that's the invitation for us as we reach out and share the good news of Jesus Christ. It is not about finding the things that are making us different and getting rid of those things. No, it's about celebrating our differences and coming together, being united by the one thing that matters most, Jesus Christ. And so go shine the light of Christ's love and let that be the unifying force that unites this world into the peace that God has always asked for us. Have a great day, everyone. If these devotional videos are helpful to you, subscribe to our channel and click the notification button so you know when we post a new video. And of course, please share them with others.